Welcome to the Heartwork podcast, where we delve into stories, struggles, and triumphs of entrepreneurship, leadership, and personal growth. I'm Dr. Sarah.
And I'm Dr. Marisa. We're here to guide practitioners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and those just navigating the complexities of life on a journey of discovery that explores the dance between passion and strategy, heart and hustle.
With candid conversations, insightful interviews, and plenty of laughs, get ready to uncover how leading with heart can transform your business and life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Heartwork podcast. We are excited today because we are going to get practical and talk about starting a practice. And we were coming to you guys because we were thinking, how about we do like a 3-series episode really about like starting a practice, expanding a practice, and then selling a practice. So just so you guys are aware, this is going to come in 3 parts over the course of these next couple weeks. And today is all about starting that practice. And both of us have done it. We're obviously here because we've opened our own practices. And for me personally, I had a 9-month business baby all the way from financing to getting the lease signed to full renovation and all of that. And Marisa's opened 2 practices in the last 4 years, which is incredible. She has a wealth of knowledge. So we're going to ask her some questions today. And I just want to, for one, just make a disclaimer too. This is how we started our practices and based on the mission and the vision to which we wanted to serve our communities. There are a lot of ways to open practices. And my biggest thing is, if I could invite any of you into it, it would be find mentorship that's going to align with how you want to serve your community, to be able to open that practice or whatever that's going to look like for you and your community. So don't get hung up on one way is better than any other way, because there's a lot of people that have done incredibly successful practices. This is the mode and model to which we have very similar practices, the way that we set it up. However, there are ways that you can do it in other capacities. So I'm going to hand it off to Marisa, but first and foremost, like, talk to me a little bit about, for one, what was it like just truly opening 2 different practices? Did it look different? And I know you're going to go into some of the nitty gritty, but did it feel and look different the first time comparable to the second time?
I would say it feels and looks different the second time comparative to the first time, because the first time you don't know what's coming down the line or what to expect. The second time around, you're kind of like, I know this is where the shitstorm could come. Right. Just in anticipation of what there is next to do. The first time it's new, it's exciting. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to interview general contractors and I get to go schmooze the city, permit professionals to try and help them push my process along. But you forget about the time and the effort and that people don't call you back. And there's just so many there are so many moving parts to when you are opening a practice, and especially in the way that we did it. And I knew that from what I had opened and experienced the first time and all of the other practices that I helped open and have served in and shadowed in and learned from, that I wanted my practice to operate and be a very specific way. So when I knew that I was going to open up again in Iowa, I was like, I'm just going right back to my old notes and right back to the same drawing board, because what's repeatable? Why should I reinvent a wheel that very much operated and was not squeaky in any sense?
Yeah.
So I think the hardest thing for me personally was just the comparison game, practice to practice. I was in 2 totally different locations, 2 totally different world and economic climates. And so just doing some more personal growth through that process and healing from the fact that I opened a practice, operated it for 6 months and sold it, and then moved just totally somewhere else and then started it fresh again. Definitely a little different, but also a lot of the things were the same.
Yeah.
And I felt really confident the second time. I mean, the first time around, you're you fake a little bit of your confidence. You borrow some of your confidence from your mentors or from people that have done it before. But once you've done it the first time, the confidence is your own, and you have so much conviction behind what you're negotiating, what you're arguing, and exactly how you want it set up, because you learned from what you did the first time.
Yeah. So for the people that are curious about opening a brick and mortar, so this is kind of what we're going to talk about. So this is basically thinking about if you have probably anywhere between 800 to 1,500 square foot almost, right? Like this is for those people that are looking at wanting to serve families, thinking about having nursing rooms in the office, like thinking about having assessment rooms. You have a front desk, you're going to have a team. This could relate to those that are just wanting to do a boutique style practice as well, because ultimately opening a business is still opening a business. You just may not be negotiating a lease the way that we negotiated leases. And so you can take it and use it for how you want to open your practice. So walk us through a little bit of the timeline, especially for those that are students that are curious about opening a practice right out of school, or they've been an associate for a while. Now they're looking at opening a practice after they've worked for somebody else.
Right. So you have time. I think regardless of how you want to operate the practice, whether it be a high love or a boutique style practice, you really need to get clear on that niche first and foremost. Like you need to make that decision, because it will create a different avenue and different decisions that you have to make along the way, and you have to prepare in a different manner. But even just honing in on your technique, like especially if you are a student, like in school, really just getting good at how to actually deliver a beautiful adjustment. And we're all continuing to learn, and we grow, and we do continuing education and stuff to fold. Like I'm still cervical chair, forget about it. But like, give me a supine diversified, I can rock it all day. But like, and we do practice torque release technique, and we learn Webster's and different things. But we all still continue to learn, and just honestly getting out there. Like, no excuses. Yeah, we all need to decompress at the end of the week. And like finals is hard, and boards are hard, and classes are tough, and like school is rough. But if you're just decompressing out with your friends, drinking alcohol on the weekends, like that time could be spent so much more productively. And not for nothing. Like I got my good old bonding time in those first 3 trimesters. Fourth, fifth trimesters. But like there comes a time where you realize when you get spit out of the grad school wheel, like no one's coming to help you. So if you can travel or go and serve in local offices, just even if they're not necessarily your niche, go. Sometimes you learn more from what you don't want after seeing an office than like what you're really looking for. And so you can help to clarify what that vision and that niche looks like for you. I know at least for us, we were part of an organization that was really abundant and really blessing with like helping us cover travel fees, or that we would serve at a marketing event on the weekend and even earn a little commission from it. So like there were so many beautiful opportunities that if you put yourself out there and served and volunteered, those mentors and those people were so willing to give back to you in whatever ways to help you succeed. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we just want more people delivering beautiful chiropractic care to more people and more families, helping to create like a reversal of the trajectory of the current health climate of our country, right?
Absolutely.
So I'd say the adjusting, figuring out your niche. And then number 3, this is one that I feel like is not talked about a lot, but communication.
Oh, yeah.
You need to know how to speak about chiropractic clearly with conviction, and that will build credibility. Because when you are fresh out of school, some people look at you and they go like, oh, you're so young. Like, yeah, my chiro has been in business for 35 years. And like, if you don't know how to respond to that, you're set. But like, I would practice and just say, you know what? Yeah, I am so young. All those textbooks and all that knowledge is so fresh in my brain. And I just attended a couple seminars over the last 3 months. Like I'm so ready to serve with the new technology and research and information available to us. I can't wait.
Yep.
And even if they don't know anything about what I learned, just that confidence and that clarity and conciseness and eloquence is like, oh, maybe if I'm cool with my chiro 30 years, my daughter, who's a little bit younger or might look for something more new and modern, would really enjoy going to see Dr. Marisa, right? So just like even the thing of meeting someone and them saying, oh, I've had surgery, like I can't ever be seen by a chiropractor. Are you just going to say, oh yeah, like sorry to hear that, good luck?
Right.
Or are you going to say, well, would you mind sharing with me a little bit about that surgery? What was it? Or do you know that in your technique, like, are you able to actually serve that patient population because of the way that you practice? Like, what's your answer to that? Can you save that person? Can that person actually receive chiropractic care? Or are they misinformed from something else? Or is it a situation where maybe they do need to be like referred elsewhere before coming into your office, right? But if you don't know about that, chiropractic and strokes, like why would I go see a chiropractor versus going to see like my massage therapist that I do already once a month? Like if you don't have an answer, if you don't practice the way that you like to share about your mission and your purpose and your stance in the community, community, you will lose those opportunities to have those conversations and potentially be able to help someone in a much different way than what they're currently experiencing in their life. So I would always love reading articles, reading blog posts, reading the research that's out there. So just for me and my niche, I'm a little bit more subluxation based. I'm more neurotonal in my adjusting style and technique preferences in chiropractic. I'm a little less out of the sports, but some general resources that I love is obviously pediatric experience, PX docs. I also love vertebral subluxation research with Dr. Matt McCoy. He's just such a pioneer for this style and field of chiropractic. The ICPA, International Chiropractic Pediatric Association. I would go to their socials, I would read their articles, read their blog posts, read their research, and start to learn about case studies and learn about case cohorts, because I'm in school. I don't always get the exposure to that. Mm-hmm. And even when you're first out in practice, you may not have someone in your practice that has trigeminal neuralgia or something, you know? Mm-hmm. So anyway, long story short, just helping you get clear on your conviction in chiropractic, your communication in chiropractic. And then you just got to start figuring out the fun stuff, where do you want to live? What do you want around you, right? Because if you're going to set up a business, unless you're me and just decide to leave it after 6 months, so you never know where your story and your life is going to take you. But in general, you do want to figure out where you want to live, what that landscape looks like. And there are some essential factors and demographics that may play into that. What is the population in that area? Is it trending upward? Is it actually growing? Mm-hmm. Are there a lot of children that are being born in the area? Are there a majority of females? Because sometimes females do make the health decisions for a family unit. Are there, what's the age range of that population, for example? Are there certain stores that set up there, right? That Starbucks and Walmart and Target, they do their market research. So if they decide to plant a store there, it's probably for a reason. And then you can also look at other colleagues you may have in your, adjusting technique network and kind of figure out hey, are there other docs in this area? Is there an area that really needs to be served but isn't? Is it more urban? Is it more suburban? Is it more rural? You got to look at some of those demographic things. And then one of the simplest things you can do is start just creating an equipment list. So it doesn't matter if you're going to have a 200 square foot office or a 1800 square foot office. Everyone needs a black pen. Everyone needs clipboards and staplers and a printer and ink and some kind of computer, laptop, iPad technology to have your electronic health records on. Are you going to have a phone, or are you just going to tie in an app to your cell phone that'll be different and have a business number? You got to start creating spreadsheets of what you need. And then as holidays come around, or Black Fridays or President's Days, times of sales, is it a great opportunity then for you to buy something on discount so that you can start to accumulate and accrue the equipment that you may need? So those are some of the easiest things. And then if you do know your area, you can figure out what some of the local events are. Are there a lot of farmers markets? Are there back to school bashes and events? Are there craft shows in the area around the holidays? Do local OT, PT, speech therapists decide to put on a fanfare one weekend? And how great would it be if you could join them as another health professional and share about the mission of chiropractic? What are some of the things in the area? Are there networking groups and chambers that are really involved in the community to eventually help you if you want to have a fun ribbon cutting to celebrate the opening of your business, whether it's a 1-room business or a 10-room business? Those are all community partnerships and networks. And are there nonprofits in the area you can volunteer with to learn more about the community landscape, and who are the who's in the business and in the area that you're in that you can start to learn about, and again, create relationships with mom groups, meetup.com, Eventbrite, all the things. And then some more fun stuff, do you have a name?
Yeah.
Would you want to call your business? One of the more practical things that I've heard over the years is people are getting more away from using any part of their actual legal name or last name in their business, especially if you are a business that wants to expand or add in another doctor, associates, or team, or eventually want to sell it, right? It's a lot harder to sell a practice that's tied to a specific doctor's name than one that's more generic, but still impactful and fun. And so once you get your name, then you can actually legally register your business. You can register an LLC in your state. They're not super expensive, but once you have your LLC, then you're able to lock in whatever your business name is or your doing business as name is. And then you can start to lock in your website domain and your email address. What what does that look like? Are you just going to be, alignchiropractic@gmail.com, or could you be Dr. Sam at alignchiropractic.com? That looks way more professional, right? You get your Gmail G Suite going. Social media accounts, you get to lock in an Instagram handle and a Facebook one. And if you aren't on social media, a lot of your patients will be. So I highly suggest at least having that business account going. You can create a logo. Canva is like free. So you could start there and just do something really simple. Or you could go on like 99 Designs or Fiverr.com. Really, at the end of the day, you just need a JPEG, a vector file, or a PNG, and you'll have a lot to help cover you. And then you can pick like what colors you want your aesthetics, and you start to create like marketing material, like business cards and posters and different things that you could potentially, or a pamphlet to hand out to areas in the community. So these are all like small tasks. They may seem really big, but they are things that you can kind of just start doing on the side, like while you're in school, or if you are in an associateship or another job in the meanwhile. And one of the coolest things is once you do get the LLC like legally registered, then you can apply for a credit card to get potentially 12 to 18 months of 0% interest. And so if you do want to start, on sales time buying the equipment, you can start accruing that, and you put it on a card that you have to still make a minimum payment on, but you don't get charged interest for any balance on that card for that first year, 18 months. So this would obviously be if once you're getting closer to like really stepping into that phase, but it is something that can allow you to, order business cards or pay for the website and the Gmail domain and what that looks like. And obviously pay for the LLC, and you're going to have to make, articles of incorporation and some other legal documents. So you start to, gather the people around you. Like, are you going to have a business lawyer, an accountant, those power partners in play? But there are a lot of things you can do yourself. I designed my own website. I designed my own logos and stuff. And I hired someone on the side once I had a logo that I was thinking of, and I just had them like help me make a brand book and choose colors based off of kind of the vibe and the aesthetic that I wanted. For us, you and I, Sarah, like we wanted a team. And so one of the things that you can do ahead of time is like start to create handbooks. So like an employee handbook that talks about, start brainstorming like what kind of benefits or things do you want to offer a team? Like, how do you want them to show up in your office every day? Is there an attire requirement that you have? Do you give like the holidays off? Do you want them to keep their phones in the back? Like, what's your rules about punctuality or write-ups or violations? What's your OSHA policy? Do you want them to be aware of like what to look for in a potential child abuse or elder abuse situation? Like, those are all things that you have to like put into your handbooks. And like, where's the local, fire department or police station closest to your location of business that you eventually want to be in? So even training materials, like if you are going to have a team, are they going to answer phones? If they're going to answer phones, what do you want them to say? Anything specific? Like, do you want them to answer like, hello? Do you want them to answer, hi, this is Align Chiropractic? Or do you want them to answer, hi, thanks so much for calling Align Chiropractic. This is so-and-so speaking. How can we help you? Like, it's little things like that you may not think of, but like, sometimes creating a standard and having like an employee training manual can really be helpful. Or if there's videos or other things that you want your employees to watch and learn, start, a Google Drive doc and like start linking those things in so that as you watch something or see something or read a great book that you think is so relevant to chiropractic and someone who might not know about it, because you might be hiring people that have never even been adjusted before. Right. So if there's materials that you want them to learn or understand, or a YouTube video to watch, or a certain Instagram account to go to, like start putting that stuff down on paper. Like that's going to help you later down the line when you have a million other things to do, because now we're getting into more of the like logistics of the practice. And then even things like patient forms. And I really, really encourage people to do this while they're in school, because oftentimes you're in school and once you get into clinic, you're having either your student colleagues or people out from the community coming in and they are filling out some kind of intake form. Like, take copies of those. If you go and shadow in other offices, ask them if you can have a couple copies of their paperwork. And then you can start to put things together based off of your ideal client and population, what kind of questions you would want them to answer in that intake paperwork. You could start building those things out, not just intake, but also like consent to treatment and informed consent and risks for potential chiropractic care, which we know are so little, but like you still need to tell people about the fact that they could be sore after the adjustment, right?
For sure.
And disclaimers and disclosures. And If you think that you'll ever take pictures in the office, like you gotta have a photo release in your paperwork. And then also like, are you going to be offering them care plans on a piece of paper that they have to sign? Like, what's your letterhead? Does it have your address or your logo or things on it? And even if you don't have all those things set yet, you could still, outline a space like 123 Anywhere Street in who knows, whatever state, make up a zip code and stuff. Like you can put those things in place that then you can plug and play later. And then one of the coolest things I think for myself that I did in clinic was once I was actually a student doc and working with other students or people in the community, when I was getting ready to go precept, I actually created like a testimonial form. And I had the people that I served there fill out a testimonial form. Yeah, I'm a student, but like they're still receiving my staff doc's care. And so anyone who filled out that form, I also asked if I could take a picture of them against a white wall. And so when I started my website for my first practice, I had like 15 different testimonials about like foot pain and infertility and pregnancy and headaches and just all kinds of different stuff that already created social proof that I could put that on social media or on the website and people could say, oh, this person's actually served people before. She's credible, And so that's something like you could do in the immediate in school. If you're already in an associateship, I'm not really sure about that one. But for sure, if you're a student in school, definitely something that you can ask permission to be able to do. And so the final thing that I would say while you're in school, and this would get more close to graduation, or if you are in an associateship, like this gets closer to the end of your contract, is then starting to really speak with like a broker or realtor in the area to start going to visit and see some of these locations. So I remember just taking my computer and looking on Google Maps at where a bunch of like big box stores were, and then looking at some of the other small strip centers, because for me personally, I just didn't want to be in an office building. I didn't want my practice to feel very sterile. I didn't want them to walk into this big like bank looking building or this random building and I just like have a room with like a door number on the front of it. I wanted to personally be in like a boutique style literal location, like in a strip mall that had open front glass windows with lots of natural light coming in. And it would feel like they had a coffee shop in the, across the street and they had like a nail salon there or like a restaurant or, a doggy daycare and like places where they were coming to the Cairo, but didn't feel like they were coming to the Cairo. It just felt like they were just doing another stop on the way to the rest of their errands. That was just personally what I wanted to look for. So I was looking in those strip malls and in those places, and I would Google map in it, because if there was like a vape place or a like fix my cell phone place, that didn't fit the vibe that I personally was going for with my practice. And so instead of just randomly spending all week driving around, I first picked some of those areas and then drove around to see if there was an open space. And then if there was, I would take pictures of it. I would write down the name of the broker or their realtor, and then I would do some recon and ask them then questions about base rent, triple net, CAM, all the logistics about like what it would take and what it would cost to operate in there. Is there any tenant improvement allowance, which is something that the landlord gives you to be able to build out the space to help you like create what you want to create? Because ultimately in the day, they just want someone to pay them residual rent for however long they want you to pay it for.
Right.
So some landlords are willing to actually help you do a build out or help you reconstruct the inside of a space if it's already been occupied, if that guarantees that you're going to sign a lease for 3, 5, 7 years. And so you can use that in some negotiation power as well. And then once you start figuring out, like maybe there's 1 or 2 spaces you really love, you can take a blank piece of computer paper, and if you know the dimensions of the space, just start drawing and like seeing how you would want your layout to be and what that looks like. And so all those times that you went shadowing or looking at other people's practices on the weekends, being a little bit more productive, having some time for play, but also being productive, those pictures and those layouts and the ideas will help you figure out how you want to design your practice. And so that's what really helped me a lot in those early phases, like up, to and before graduation, while also making sure I was really paying attention to school, because I also chose to open right after graduation. And so in school, I got really good at the communication side of things. I worked really, really hard to get good at adjusting in the way that I wanted to adjust. And then with my preceptorship, what a blessing that my preceptorship, I couldn't even adjust in the state of Tennessee if I wanted to. Like there are rules in certain states and areas. And so what I got to do was be patient facing the whole time on the front end, middle end, and back end of things in the sense that I got to do intakes. I got to run assessments and scans on people. I got to meet with them in their hardest moments and talk to them about why and how chiropractic could help them and continue to build confidence in the way that I was speaking. And then also be able to really present a care plan that was designed for them and then have those tough financial conversations with them and talk money and talk insurance and talk this and talk that. And so it really created this beautiful opportunity where I was like, wow, okay, so if I can take someone from this street or that calls and makes an appointment in the office and I can run them through their first appointment and then also run them through another appointment where then they choose to sign on for care, then all I have to do after that is just adjust and make the magic happen.
Right.
But so having those months to really dive in and focus just on that was huge because sometimes people will choose to create a preceptorship and all they want to know about is business stuff or back office stuff or like finances or how to keep track of things and whatnot or adjusting. Right. And it's like, okay, yeah, but you get out there, you still need people in your doors to be able to adjust them. And so having that time with you in my preceptorship was so special. And I really didn't spend a lot of time outside of my preceptorship doing any personal business planning because I really wanted to spend any extra time that I had serving in the community or being present at the office and helping out with like decor and themes and different things. Like that was health talks and going out into the community and sharing about chiropractic in a quick 10 or 15-minute talk. Right. And then when I graduated, I chose to do a 5 or 6 month unpaid volunteer internship in another doc's office where I basically, ducktailed the owner's wife who did a lot of the back office stuff and verifications of paperwork and finances and account audits and different things. And I still did some of the day one stuff and I still took x-rays in the office and different things. But I really spent the majority of my time with her early in the morning or late in the evening or on a weekend time. And I just learned and learned and learned. So I was there from end of February, early March until end of June, early July. And it really wasn't until end of May that I even started making a list of the locations that I would look at when I was back in Jersey and any of the reaching out to any banks to start accumulating materials to start talking about money and loans and stuff to actually have some to build out the practice that I wanted to build. So that's kind of the biggest things that I'd say. Regardless if you're in an associateship or in school, just really focusing in on the things and the moving parts that you need to, because once you get out there again, nobody teaches you about the business side of things or the fact that you have to look this stuff up and make decisions with intention for it. So those are some of the preschool things that I did.
That was gold. Everybody that's listening to this right now, I hope you guys freaking took so many notes that are intrigued about opening a practice because that was so much information. That was incredible. Back to just the location stuff. One of my mentors at one point, it said, don't be poor in poverty. Yeah. Don't be poor in Providence. That's what he said. It's really easy sometimes to get excited about being in the cute downtown area. Or for me, I wanted to be in this cute downtown spot, have this really pretty aesthetic boutique little spot. And but I still wanted to see all the people and I still wanted to have people walk up with lots of families and all that type of stuff. And you got to also think through, can people get access to your building easily? Can they park well? Can they get in and out with a wheelchair? Do they have to ride an elevator? Are there stairs? So it's those are really important things to think about. Egress is incredibly important. I'm around a Starbucks. I have a Trader Joe's right next to us. You have these big box stores that you can say, hey, we are located right across the street from, at least for us, Westtown Starbucks. We're right across from Trader Joe's. We're in the same area as Big Kahuna's. Those are really easy ways to be able to tell people where you are as well. So
ease of access is a huge thing. A lot of times they talk about finding like, is there a traffic light there? Like, can
Right.
people
Can
get
people get
even
out?
into the town center or wherever
Mhm.
you're at? Even if you are in like an office or medical building, can people access it from all sides of the road? Or
Right.
do they have to like do a U-turn to be able to get there? And what does that look like in times of high traffic? And so
Yeah.
there are a lot of moving parts. And honestly, a lot of the times, the first couple places where I like drove around and thought, oh my God, I'd love to have a practice there. Practicality like
Yeah.
didn't work out. And we chose like one of the other ones because it just made more sense to everyone else.
Well, and when you think about the timing too, so one of the things that I did outside of everything else that you just talked about was I drove from one end of the town to where we were at and how long it would take me to get to our practice in high trafficked area, in high traffic time. And so that also helped dictate a little bit of our hours. So when we were looking at hours and stuff like that, if it was a really busy afternoon and I closed at 5 o'clock, I would miss out on a lot of people that were done with work at 5, And so obviously, like there are some days I'm open up earlier and I close earlier, but there are days that most of my hours are open until 6:30, just personally, just so that we can see, because in our area, people get out of work 5:30, 6 o'clock. And if they have to drive from one end of the town to the other, it takes about 20 minutes. So I'm either going to miss out on that population completely, or they're like struggle bussing to get there. So just things to think about when, again, just your population, who are you looking to reach? What's your niche? All that type of stuff. And take that into consideration when you're also putting in hours. So let's chat about, I know we did so much, y'all. Hope hang with us a little bit. I want Marisa to talk through a little bit of financing, and getting prepped with construction with so now you've got your lease, you got your area where you want to go, you're starting to negotiate some of that with a broker, but you've also had to navigate some of the business banking side of things as well prior then to opening a business. So let's try to speed through some of this because I know it's not a lot, but it is a lot at the same time. And then what are some of the highlights to then physically opening that practice?
Yeah. So on the financial side of things, like your landlord who wants to rent you the space wants to know that you have financing to be able to sign the lease. But your financer wants to know that you have a space and a signed lease.
So fun.
Or they give you the money. So you're kind of stuck. This is not legal advice, but you have to kind of figure out and choose what you want to do. So for me personally, I just knew that it was going to be more important for my bank to give me the money to actually see a signed lease versus me try and make something up versus like just tell the landlord, yep, we've got the documents. Here's like the already like estimate from the bank of what they could do, even though I actually hadn't signed the dotted line. Like I had all the things in motion and they had already given me like a proposal-ish of what it would look like. And so I actually paid the security deposit and everything for the landlord out of my own savings to make sure that I locked in that lease. And then I could send that to the bank for them to do that. Because at least for me, I was a new grad. I hadn't been working for 2 years. And typically to get a traditional bank or business loan, you have to have 2 years of tax returns, right? Showing that you were working in your field. Not that I just wasn't working. I just wasn't working as a chiropractor and had any of that quote unquote experience of 2 years tax returns for it. So because I was a new grad, they wanted me to go through the SBA. So most banks will have you go through the SBA because the government will bank up to like 75% of the business loan so that if you do default on the loan or close your doors, the bank knows that they're going to get their money one way or other. But it does have a lot of hoops to jump through. And there's a lot of documents you have to prepare for that. So sometimes they want a cosigner. Sometimes they want collateral. Sometimes there's, 4 to 8% down. Sometimes you may be talking to banks and they want 10 to 30% down. And it's like, that's just what they want. You can't really negotiate it. So one of the things you can do though, is if you did open that credit card when you got your LLC and you did start accumulating some kind of equipment, that's equipment that you could put down that you've already quote unquote paid for, even though you haven't necessarily received the funds for it yet, that you're going to pay for it from the bank eventually with their funds. but that could be used as your own personal collateral. That could decrease the percentage of what you have to actually fork out and put down. Some people talk to family, some people talk to friends about financing. I was blessed. My dad was able to be a co-signer on my loan. And so that really helped me get the financing that I personally needed at that time to be able to open the practice that I wanted to open in a, 1,800 square foot place. And so once you get the financing in place, and then you can really, hit pedal to the metal. So like once we had interviewed our GCs and went through that whole process and picked that and got the architectural drawings and the city permits going, then they do the build out. And you always have to build in a little bit of time for contingencies and supply delays and stuff like that. So if a GC tells you that your business baby is going to be ready in February, start planning for like end of March, right? Because even if you get extra time, great. You can finesse, you can hang up more pictures on the wall, you can run a ghost week with patients of your closest family and friends, and just practice making sure that printer A actually gets the information from computer A and prints it, and that you can troubleshoot that stuff. And if you're training a team, maybe you get an extra week of being able to be in the practice and just kind of running through some things together, right? But I know that for Sarah and I, we were very intentional with our time while things were getting built out in creating those community relationships and partnerships and meeting people in the community. Mm-hmm. And we both kind of set things up where we didn't just create the relationship and get our name out there, but we had set up like a schedule with our EHR and had that ahead of time, and would actually take paid deposits for people to put themselves on our schedule so that we knew when we opened up day one, people were walking in the doors. Like long gone are the times where people are just going to drive by a chiropractor's office and be like, my back hurts, I'm going to walk in. It just really doesn't happen. If that does happen, they're going to go to their phone, search Google, and search the area and see if you're there and if you have good reviews and if you're actually taking new patients or not. So we did a lot, we had a beautiful blessing and abundance of people that were prepaid and ready to rock to open the doors. And so way we kind of phrased it, being a new practice in the area, was just, hey, we're opening a new business and that is under construction. And so we're currently booked out right now with that construction and with our patient load until, April 4th, 2024. They don't have to know that you're just first opening your doors no one's there. They don't know. How are they going to know? They're not going to know. So you just go walk in the comments. They're like, wow, April, it's so wonderful. Everyone's really excited for this new office and our new technology to open. So we can't wait to serve. That's our first availability. You don't have to say that's your first day open. You just say our first availability is, right? It's just in the way you communicate and you build, value. So we did a lot of things to just be out in the community, meet people, and then if they were interested, give them the opportunity to come into the office at a special opening rate and a discount for that. And then we created a lot of community partnerships and networked so that we could host a ribbon cutting, at least for my second practice, because it wasn't COVID times. So I networked a lot with the local chamber and with the local business professionals, and we actually had the mayor there. It was really, really fun. And all the other vendors that I would meet at events, I just chatted with, hey, I'm a new business owner. We love supporting other local businesses. And by the time I had created those relationships and I sent follow-up emails and I did all the networking, things that you should do, it was beautiful because I would go to those people, hey, we're having a grand opening or a ribbon cutting. We partnered with a nonprofit. So we chose a nonprofit in the area that we really aligned with. And so we said, if you donate to our ribbon cutting, a raffle prize, we're going to be selling tickets to help benefit this nonprofit. All the proceeds go there. So now that business isn't just giving away free product or free service to support you and your chiropractic office. You're creating a relationship, but otherwise, why do they care? This is also for social proof for them that they're contributing to a nonprofit and a beautiful organization in the community, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And you guys are promoting, again, you're a community local business supporting other local businesses, supporting a greater community mission.
Right.
Who doesn't want to be a part of that? And so you can create a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement about that because you're serving, right? And people are going to read through you if you just care about numbers and just care about money and getting people in the doors, versus if you actually care about being a community partner and serving the community just as much as you care as serving the families. And if you're serving others, that will come tenfold back to you in abundance. Right. And so finding ways to position yourself as a community partner and as someone that really wants to see that community thrive, even if your business isn't related to what that is, you know? And we're in the health field. So like we really are truly doing our best to help the community thrive and be able to be, you know, in their businesses and the parents and the sisters and the siblings and the workers and the athletes and all the things they want to be. So, that's kind of like in with our ribbon cutting. And we did do like a 2-week opening hours. So basically we were open Monday through Friday for those initial 2 weeks from 8 a.m. to basically 8 p.m. We scheduled like a person on a half an hour each day. And we would just rotate like between me and my team, like who took that person. And I was blessed in both of my practices to have another established doc be able to come in and help me do that and do some of the more doctor tasks as we wanted to spend those 2 weeks really serving as many people and families as possible, especially if they were waiting a couple months for us to be open and really needed our service and care. And then that way, that got people starting to get adjusted, starting to help cover and pay us for our service, which helped us be profitable within that first month.
Yeah.
But that takes work to set it up that way so that you can have that presence. Because again, if you just open the doors, especially maybe if you are in an area with family friends, they'll come out and support you for an adjustment or two. But unless you're intentional about what you want that to look like and what you want that to be created with, like you have to do the work ahead of time.
I hope everybody that is listening to this is just like blown away, because I'm blown away. I'm like reliving it as you're going through. Oh my goodness. I'm like reliving all the fun stuff that we did as we went through this. Oh my gosh. I wanted to just give a little tidbit too for those that potentially had an associateship or you were working in an office. So I worked as an associate for 4.5 years and was able to go to a bank. So I didn't have any money saved. I didn't have a lot of collateral. However, I did have a W-2. And so was able to take some of that. But I know some colleagues of mine then went when they went to the banking world for financing. One of the things I was able to get was a complete line of credit. So I didn't have to go through the SBA personally for myself. The bank that I end up finding, and like you may get a ton of no's also as you get through this, just know that somebody may be willing to give money. So don't like give up on it. You just never know who you're going to meet and who's going to come across that believes in you also, even if you don't have any type of collateral or money. And so I literally found this small little local bank that was like, yeah, sure, we'll give you $150,000 line of credit. That's like, all right. So it was such a gift. Like I was blown away by it. I was also blessed. My parents pulled a little bit from their retirement. So that also went as like, they put it in a CD, just basically to just hold as collateral against the line. And then I was able to literally pay my parents back within the first 3 months of being open. So, and then one of the other things when you're looking at a lease, so I actually just was talking to she's opening a different business here in town. She's actually opening a fitness studio. And we are talking about leases because it is wild if you do not have appropriate broker or somebody that is willing to negotiate that lease, how you can lose out on appropriate negotiation stuff. And so for both of my leases, I talked about how I had a 9-month business baby. I basically got my I signed my lease in August, got money in June, signed my lease in August, opened in October, but I had close to 7 months, quote unquote, of free rent. It does get moved into your full lease, but at least for that lease, we got a full amount of time where I wasn't having to pay rent on your lease. And then which we'll have another conversation about this, but when I expanded my then practice, I had 10 months of free rent where I wasn't having to pay rent as we were expanding. So those are big things to make sure that your broker is doing for you. You can get way more than just a month, 2 months, 3 months. I would definitely make sure that you have 2 to 3 months after you open to not have to be paying rent at that period of time. That just is going to cut down your overhead big time.
Yeah. To expand on that, we did. Sometimes you can negotiate free rent. Sometimes they're not willing to give that to you. So you can negotiate rent abatement. So it's like you'll take the first 3 to 6 months. We always got 6 months on both of my leases, which was great. And so essentially you're paying the security deposit or whatever you have to pay for right at the lease closing, but then you would get 6 months of rent free, even though it wasn't technically free. Yeah. It was just tagged on to the end of your lease. And a landlord, if they're not willing to give you actual free rent for those first whatever, maybe they're willing to do that because typically leases do increase year after year by some kind of percentage. Maybe it's a quarter, maybe it's, 50 cents, but they would be more willing to get the higher base rent in, 5 years when you're paying it at the end of your lease compared to when you're paying potentially a lower rate now. Something else that we did with this lease compared to our last one was we had 6 months of rent abatement, but I also had the first year at basically half of what the typical base rent would be. And so for us, it was like, okay, if they're willing to give us this, then instead of just asking to go up a quarter each year per square foot, we went up 50 cents just to give the landlord a little extra. Thanks. So yeah, but 100%, you need a business broker, yes. Or a real estate broker, and you 100% need a real estate lawyer to review the lease with you, because typically a broker won't be a lawyer at the same time, even though they may have read or know enough leases to have some input to it with you. You definitely want to pay a lawyer to review that to make sure that it's in your best interest and that the language actually is appropriate to you, because nobody teaches real estate law, and there are a lot of finessing and things in that lease that can look a little different. So yes, it might be exciting. Yes, it may look like the perfect place. You might read the lease and be like, this seems reasonable. But absolutely make sure, because once you sign that dotted line, you are locked in. And sometimes even in the leases, if you try and break it, you're still on the line for those years of rent and triple net and CAM and all the things. So really important for sure.
Well, I have loved this conversation. I am so excited to be able to give this to our community. Do you have anything else that you would add for anybody that's looking at opening a practice before we sign off?
Just mindset. You got to walk. You can't walk in expectation that it's going to be hard, but just know you will be tested. Your grit and your tank and your capacity are going to be there. But if this is your dream and this is your passion, you will figure it out and you will find it. I was told yes from a bank, and then they pulled out right before we were going to sign the loan. And then I got another one with another bank. There's just going to be unexpecteds that come up. Please do not expect perfection, progress over perfect every step, every day, and then lean into your people. Yeah. Lean into the people that cheer you on. Lean into the people that want to see you succeed. Tune out all the people that are well, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to sign on that dotted line? Are you sure you want that space that costs you $2,000 a month versus the little office room that you can get for $500 a month? Are you sure you want, there will be people that constantly chirp in your ear. And sometimes it's the people that are the closest to us that end up sharing or oversharing. And so really being strict about who you allow to speak into that season of life with you, and who's really championing you along the way, because it is hard and it is challenging, but it's also so incredibly rewarding. And when you open that door, oh my God, I'm going to get emotional and chills. You will open that door and you will be like, I did this. This is amazing. And this was all of the people, people would make fun of me because they're like, oh, where are you opening your practice? And I'd be like, oh, we're opening it in such and such. And they're like, who's we? And I'm like, oh no, it's me. But I mean, it's me and my real estate broker, and it's me and my banker, and it's me and my dad, and it's me and my team, and it's me and, our EHR people, because it truly is a collective project. But at the end of the day, you're the driver of that bus. And you open your doors and you get to see people walk in and you serve people and you're like, damn, this is so freaking cool.
And you did it. And we did it. You get to be the one that says, you can be so freaking proud of yourself for the late nights, the early mornings, the hard work, the heart behind your story that's truly impacting that community. And y'all, we are so excited for you. If it's something that's been on your heart to open a practice or
open a business, any business,
go into any business, absolutely. Trust it. If that's in your part of your dream, it's going to take hard work. However, it is so freaking worth it. You never know the impact that you're going to have. And that it's truly going to not only light you up, but it's going to light up your freaking community. And I love it so much. Thank you so much for sharing. It really was beautiful. Like I said, I was literally living back through it, which was so fun. So y'all, thank you so much. Make sure, again, you find your community that I cannot emphasize enough to make sure that you are really with the people that are going to empower you to do this. However, because it's not easy, and to really make sure that you are dancing with people that are going to lift you up, they're going to encourage you, and that are going to empower you and give you the strategy to really help you be successful. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are going to be back next week talking all about part 2, which is expanding a practice. So don't miss out. We look forward to hearing and talking with you guys next time. Subscribe, save, follow, share it on social media, all the things. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.